Hello, my friends. Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa String Works Metal Shop. Got a project related to the pew-pews again. My friend Richard Brown passed away a year or so ago, and his widow called me to get rid of all of his instruments. Well, just as an extra little favor to me, she gave me one of his little pew-pews. Well, it's a great little gun, but unfortunately, it's the back side is broken off. I don't know if you'll be able to see that or not. Anyway, this side doesn't match that side, if you can maybe tell that. And this side here is just broken away. Well, I thought, well, just go online and buy one, right? It's just a piece of plastic is all it really is, if you get right down to it. This is not a super expensive gun. Anyway, it's just a piece of plastic. So I thought, well, $10, it's ridiculous to pay $10 for a little tiny bitty piece of plastic, but why not? So I go online. They're over $50 for this little tiny itsy bitsy piece of plastic. I don't mind paying up. I really don't. I mean, if something costs some money and you need it, spend the money, get it. Fine. $50-some for a piece of plastic that I would actually feel like I'm getting ripped off if I spent $5 for it. Because, it's about 1 second in a blow mold and they blow this thing into the mold and you got this little piece of plastic. It's nothing special. So, $50-some for it just rubs me the wrong way because it's a total ripoff in my opinion. Having said that, can I make one? I don't know. I may end up spending $50 for a stupid little rear sight, which is just ridiculous. But I'm going to give it my best shot to avoid that, even if it costs me $100 labor, just because I don't like getting ripped off. That's just me. Come along, we'll see if it works. Well, I suppose we should start by taking this apart. I've already had this out of here once, so I know it comes out like this. So there's a screw here, and I believe I've got it loose already. And then this just pops up, and the screw falls out. So we got a screw and this little piece of plastic right here. And so I know what I need to do. Now the tricky part is there's a little ridge across here where apparently it catches this wire under there or the lip or something for a hinge. That acts like a hinge. This is also rounded around there, flat across here. There's a little indention to catch the spring. There's a hole for the screw and then the two back rear sights. It's not simple, I'll have to admit. To mill one of these is complicated. To make it in a mold takes about 3.5 seconds, if that long. I've got to punish myself and see if I can make one of these. Plus, I like the challenge, so let's see if it works. Well, I was having trouble locating a piece of stock, but I think I found one. That's more than wide enough, it's more than thick enough, and by far sure is more than long enough. But let's mount her up and see if we can do something with this. Okay, my friends, in order to do reasonably precision work, and I use that term like that because I'm not the best machinist in the world. I just can do pretty good work. It's not going to be A-bomb quality, if you know who A-bomb is on YouTube. It's not going to be that kind of quality. It's just going to be pretty good. The first thing you need to do, though, is you need to what you call tram in your vise. Well, I put the vise on here. This is a combination lathe and milling machine. So, I'm switching back and forth. It's kind of like the old shopsmith. It's not the best of any one thing. It's just kind of average on several things, and that's kind of the way this is. The thing is that you need to tram it in. What that means is you put an indicator on here. See how the indicator is getting higher and higher? That it's going up in numbers. That means this is getting closer. So what I want to do is bump it back a little bit, and then we'll tram it back, and we want to go, and this is getting lower and lower, which still indicates I haven't done it enough. So I'm going to tram it some more. Let's see here, we'll go back and see if it's staying closer to still. It's still rising a little bit, but not by as much. So let me tap it a little bit more here with my hand. Whoops, way too much probably. So let's try that and see if that's close. That should be getting pretty close, I imagine. All right, it's going down still. That means it's still not perfect. But let's just go all the way to the end. You know, what you want to do is you want that needle to be perfectly still. Then that means when you're cutting 90 degrees, you will really be 90 degrees. Or if you're cutting parallel or whatever, you'll be parallel. And again, this setup isn't even the best for testing this, but it's the best setup I've got. And so it's still dropping a little bit. That means I need to pull this side away, so I'm tapping the back end around a little bit. It's still dropping a little bit. That means this end is further away. So that moved it a little bit. Let's see if it's staying fairly still yet. Still increasing a little bit, but not very much this time. A few thousandths. So, you know, a thousandth is almost nothing, guys. I'll get out my wrenches here and I'll put a little bit of tension on these because, well, I thought I had them tighter than they are. This one's not very tight at all. And I'm going to snug these up a little bit because once you get it pretty close, you want these reasonably snug, not tight necessarily. All right, so now that's better. So let's go through here and see if it's moving now. It's staying fairly still. Wow. Dropping a hair, like a couple thousandths over the length of that. Now, a couple thousandths, that's if you took an inch and divided it by 1,000 pieces. It's dropped about 4 thousandths now, 5 thousandths. So about 5 thousandths on the end. So I'm gonna go all the way back to the other side and see if it, even my indicator's not the best, you know, it's pretty good, but it's not the best. About 5 thousandths. So I'll take this little rubber mallet and just tap it this way and see if I can get it to felt like it might have moved there a little bit, so I'm going to test that because it doesn't take much now. I mean, like almost nothing. It's still dropping a hair. So tap it a little bit. I don't see it moving at all now. Wow, I don't see it moving. Well, it moved about 1,000th. That's crazy. Let me try it again. Yeah, that might have moved it too much. You can chase your tail on this stuff. It's about 1,000th, I would say now, or 2,000ths maybe. Let me try it again. Okay, I'm seeing where it's starting there. It's pretty much staying there, but again, I don't know if the indicator might be sticking a little bit, but I think it's pretty close. I think I'm within 1,000th now. I'm just going to call that good because that's about as good as lesser machinists can do. I mean, that's pretty good though. It's not terrible. I've seen A-bomb settle for, you know, numbers like that, so it ought to be good enough for me. All right, I've tightened the vise down a lot here. You want to get it pretty darn tight because, you know, you might be pulling on it, the mill might be pulling on it, etc. Just going to run it back across one more time just for a sanity check. It's dropping maybe 1,000th. Doggone it. Yeah, 2,000ths. Go back across again and see. Again, I think my indicator's lying to me a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. It looks pretty good. I'm going to go with that. It's close enough for my purposes, I think. Now that we have the vise trammed in, I need to swing this head over. First thing is I want to raise up the cutter because the cutter's way down. Need a wrench to loosen up the head here. You can't really see what I'm doing, but this head swings and there's a couple of bolts here that hold it in place. So it really doesn't matter where you put this, but I tend to just line it up with the square column there and just call it good. It doesn't really matter because this is what matters down here, because that's what's going to do the movement. And I'm just tightening it back up in place so it doesn't move. That's the key to it. You don't want it to move once you got it set in a particular spot. I think I'll start by just milling the end of this square because this piece of stock is rough on the end. So let me try that. I wish I could zoom up a little bit more with this camera, but I can't, and I can't really get it in a better spot. This is about as good a spot as I can get it in, so sorry. So now I'm gonna lock this into a certain height here. Well, the very first thing, I got a problem. I just can't believe it. This thing is so limited. Now I've messed up my tramming. I'm gonna have to move this over that way, the whole vise over, and so my tram's gonna have to be done again. I'll do all that off camera, get it set up better. This is very limited, the way this thing moves and the way you can do things with it. So I apologize, but I'll have to reset and then we'll get back to you here. Okay, I got the vise retrammed and everything. I should be able to get to the end of this aluminum now. Hopefully the cutter will go low enough. That's another problem I have with this, is this just isn't designed well enough to work real well. It works, but not the best. Now I'm going to try to mill the end of that square. All right, now we're gonna do some work. All right, I'm gonna take off 20 thousandths. Now it's doing some work. Okay. I can still see a little bit of roughness on the bottom, so I'm going to do a little bit more. There we go. That's nice. Looks really good. Really good and squared off. So there you go. You can see how squared off it is now. Now I'm going to mill the top. We'll take it down till it cuts. And then we'll lock that into place, and hopefully we'll mill this thing flat on the top. Parallel here, square on the end, and square to the top there. So we're in good shape. I've got my caliper set at 200 thousandths, which is narrower than the sight on the plastic. It's like 225, but that just looks awful clunky, so I'm going to just make mine a little smaller. And even that looks big and clunky to me. Of course, we can always taper it or something, but I'm just putting a line across there at 205 thousandths. Again, accuracy is not that important on something like this. You know, it's ironic to say accuracy is not that important on a sight, but it doesn't matter on this part. It just doesn't. And then I want to take 185 thousandths down, and I'm going to leave this standing tall. This is where the back sight is actually going to be. The up and down on this is not very accurate. I'll just be honest with you. It's just not. Let's just see what we can do. Well, according to the little gauge on here, that should be about an 80 thousandths cut. Now, that's a lot, I'll admit, but I think I can do that if I just take my time. All right, I'm going to pause the program for a second here. I'm going to put some bluing on there and then recut that line because I can't see it very well. If you don't know what I'm talking about with bluing, it's just, that's what it is. It's just Dykem steel blue. And I just put some blue on there like that. Give that a few seconds to dry. I think it's alcohol based, so it dries pretty fast. Then I can take my calipers. It's not dry yet, but I can see it drying. I'll take my calipers, which I still have them set at the same spot, and I'll drag it across there. And now I can see that line really clean. So now I can, mill down to that line better. Putting on my close-up safety glasses, which I should have had on anyway. And by that, I can go another hair more, so I'm going to go a hair more. Okay, that looks really good. Now I'm going to go deeper. Can't go a whole lot deeper though, because I'm going to hit this metal. I have the tallest parallels I have. I may have to rig something here. I'll go down a little bit. Just making sure I'm not going to hit my vise. I don't think I'm going to hit the vise there, and I'm going to take it down that deep. Now, if it's too deep, I'm not worried about that because I can always just mill some off the top. Because this thing's quite thick right now. You could do this more accurately, I get it, but I'm just going to use my calipers and see how deep this looks like it is. 185 is kind of what I'm shooting for. 112 is what I'm measuring there. Let me check it a couple times. 115, yeah, because you can tilt this easy. It's not the best way to do it. 117 is what I'm getting that time. Definitely need to go more. Before I can go more though, I'm going to have to re-rig this thing because it's not working the way it is. Well, here we go. This is a very tedious setup. You can probably tell I barely have any lip of the vise left. I've tried several different options. Anyway, I have a parallel under these two parallels and it just barely gives me an option to grab it. But it looks like it might work. I'm just going to go for it and see what happens. Okay, there's where I'm touching. So I'm going to go out and dial in about 40 thousandths, I think. Actually, I'm going to dial in a little less and see how well it's going to handle it. I think we can call that good enough. And let's measure it again and see how deep we are. 145. So based on that, we need to go about another 40 thousandths. That's 145. That's what I got twice. You know what? I know that ain't right because this ain't near that high. I don't know how I got that number. Yeah, this is not near that high. I don't know how I got that number. I think, you know what I think I did? I measured the full length of it. That's what the full height of it. I didn't measure the height above the plane. Oh, well, it doesn't matter. Like I said, I can cut that back. I still got plenty of material. No problem at all. So I screwed up, but that's okay. It's an easy fix. That should get me pretty close. Yeah, that's right on the money, I would say. That's real close. I'm at 50 thousandths there, and this one's about that. It's really hard to figure how you measure it. That's the problem. How do you measure it? It's close enough. I'll get back to you once I figure out what I'm going to do next, because I don't even have a good guess. Okay, according to my calculations, this should be 693 thousandths wide. That's after, the wing, that's the wings accounting for everything. And we're at 756, so, you know, about 60 thousandths roughly needs to come off, a little more than that, but in that ballpark. I always like to clean down in here in case there's any chips or anything down in there so that it, you know, the parallels are setting good and flat. Let me measure how wide this is right now presently. It's measuring at 753, which is 3/4 of an inch. I think I'll have to only use one parallel. I've got a little roughness on this edge here, so I'll have to fix that before I can put it in there. Okay, I just took a hand file and tried to knock off the burrs. Hopefully that's good enough. I tell you what, I'm going to take a little time and do some layout, maybe with some of that blue dicum, and try to hit the mark that way, because I don't know any other good way to do this. Again, I don't have all the proper measuring tools and things. Probably cannot see this, but there is a little tiny line right there. It's only 30 thousandths roughly off of the edge. It really didn't need much at all by my calculations. I'm glad I did all that and drew it out, because it gives me a better idea of what I need to do. It's barely anything. Just sneak this down until it touches. Okay, I think I got that right on my mark there. Layout mark. I'll have to deburr that, but I think I got it. Now I got to flip it over and do the same thing. Got her flipped over, and I think what I'm going to do is go back here where it doesn't really matter and see if the depth is still the same. It should be, but we'll see. Well, I think that's close enough for my job. Yeah, that looked perfect, actually. That looked right on the line, boy. I mean, like right on that little fine line. Perfect. That's as good as I can do. The hard work probably is yet to come, honestly. I don't know. This is a tedious setup at best. But I went ahead and cut off the extra stock because I thought I just needed to. Probably didn't have to do that yet, but I don't know. I did it. Yeah, it looks pretty darn good. Got it right to my line. Got to flip it over now and try to do that again. Yeah, I don't know if I got the right order of operations in this or not. This is the tricky part of this kind of thing, is doing it in the right order, because you could screw yourself up for something down the road here. The problem is, if I flip it over, I can't see it because it's on the other side and it's too dark over there. Will it work if I do it on this end? I don't know if it'll reach that. Yeah, we're running out right there. Just got to it and it ran out. Well, I'm just going to have to do it from this end and get some light over there somehow. That'd be the easiest, because I don't want to have to reset everything. You can see what's going on. You won't be able to see the line. But you're going to also be looking into that bright light unless I can get the camera in a particular spot. Well, that's as close as I'm going to get it by doing everything the non-machinist way. I think that's pretty good, actually. I'm going to take it out of there and do some comparative looks and measures and see where we go from here. Off camera, I did a little bit of comparison, and it does look like this is going to fit into the gun just right. I'm going to mill the end to length now. At least that's the goal. Let me make sure I got that vise good and tight, because this is sticking out a lot. This could cause a real problem. Yeah, that's good and tight. I'm going to take very light cuts, or at least that's the goal. I'd say that's close enough. No point in taking a risk and screwing it up. If I had to file that by hand a little bit, it wouldn't hurt nothing, but I think we're good. I think we got our general shape finished. We still got some milling to do. Several operations. Going to have to drill a hole, have to drill a flat spot, yeah, there's several things yet. This tang is too thick. It's got to be, so this backside's got to be milled. Yeah, it's still a lot of work yet, but we're really fairly close to where we need to be. I have this set up to do tiny milling job on this end. I don't know how to explain it. It just is one of them deals that has to be done to make it match the other thing. The part came out of the holder here. I thought it was going to work, but apparently it's I made this little parallel, and unfortunately it's just a hair too wide. I'm going to need to thin it down just a little bit. Oh my gosh, nothing's ever simple. And I'm going to make this parallel smaller, and then we'll move on. Okay, after a half dozen side steps there, I got my parallel fixed where it fits this better and holds it in place better. Now the question is, can I get it back to where I was to mill out this properly? I think we got it, but I don't think that cutter has a square cutting edge, and I need a square cutting edge. So now I'm going to have to switch cutters. Yeah, that definitely has a bevel. I didn't think about that. Well, I think that's it. That's a little step there. I'm going to measure that now and see if it looks like it is the right size. Well, here we go. We're going to mill off the back now. All right, I want to see how much I took off this. All right, that's about half what I need. That's 32 thousandths. I need to go down another 40 thousandths approximately. Let's try that and see what that is. I think the depth there is pretty close. I want to get the depth set before I finish the rest of the milling. That's perfect. That's right on the money, 70 thousandths deep. We're going to finish the rest of this now. Okay, that should be most of the milling. Still some complicated things. Let's see if this is pretty close. Yeah, that's looking pretty darn close to what we need. You see there, it's got this little part sticking down, this little part's down from the top. This is where the sight actually is back here. I'm going to go over and see if it'll test fit into the gun. It's pretty good shape. It's going to take some hand filing to do the rest of this. For instance, Ox Tool, he does lots of hand filing, and he's a really highly regarded machinist. So I don't feel like this is a slap. I probably could find a way to machine this. If I had the right tooling, I probably could. But since I don't, and this is aluminum, I think this is going to win. Hand filing here. I'm going to round this off. Well, that's in the ballpark. I think I may go into the other shop and use the needle files on this now and see what we can do with that. This is another one of those cases where the average person probably wouldn't use a Dremel for this, but it works for me, I think. I'm going to give it a shot anyway. I may regret it. Well, that worked out pretty good. I'm going to try a small jeweler's file. And this is a tri-cornered file. It's not exactly what I was looking for, but that's the one I got. And trying to get this round, you know, the whole thing's supposed to be round. It was square, completely square. I don't think I'm achieving perfect roundness here, but I'm getting, I think, probably close enough to make it work. For roundness there, this end's supposed to be round. It's not too bad. It's got a little flat spot on it still. I may have to come back to that. Let's see if this is going to fit down. Well, it won't fit in there yet because I'm still got to mill a recess for this spring. But just to give you some idea, it's got to fit down in here. And I'm not sure it fits in there yet. Might be a little tall still. It's really close. The width of it seems like it's perfect, but the length here, I may have to do a little more touch up on the roundness part here and make it a little smaller even, possibly. This little jeweler's file seems to be cutting it better than that big file I was using. Let me see if that got me closer to where I want to be. I don't know. These kinds of things, they don't work, and then all of a sudden they're there, you know. And I think we might have a little issue with this. I'm gonna look at it just for size comparison. It looks like it's bigger than this one. Yeah, I'd have to say it does look like it is probably a little bigger. So I think I can go some more here. Fit might be there now, might be. Yep, it's going in there. It's a little tight still. Maybe I could take a little off the back edge. Now I'll take some off this inside edge, try to make it match a little better. Well, that looks pretty dang close to original now. I'm going to see if that'll fit in that spot better now without I was forcing it a little bit before, but maybe I won't have to force it now. Oh yeah, right in there. I think that's just about perfect. Okay, now the hard part. I have to cut a tiny slot across this. A very tiny slot. See the little, can you see the little slot in there? I have to make that slot. How am I gonna do that? That's a good question. It'll probably be something I do with my hand and the Dremel, though I don't know that for sure. I might actually start with this triangle file to see if I can get a good straight line there. Well, this little triangle file really does cut, I'll say that. That little sucker works good. It works good, but I don't have it straight. It's always good to check. Oh man, that ain't good. Oh, that's a magnetic base. I didn't realize that. It sure does hold good for a magnetic base. Wow, that's getting pretty good. That's not horrible. I don't think it's completely right yet, but that ain't horrible. Maybe I'll try a saw. I have a feeling a saw would be the best bet here. My little fret saw. There you go. I think this is the ticket. I use a saw like a like a file sometimes, especially on soft materials like this. We're in the ballpark, but we're not there. Well, we have a slot there. I don't know if you can see it or not, but we have a slot. Pretty similar. I think I'm going to try to clean it up with that file a little bit. Oh, I think that's going to work. I think that's locked in. Now I got to find a way to measure where to drill that pocket for that spring. Tell you what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to get some of that blue dicum, put it on here, put it in there, work it a few times, and see if it leaves a mark. Let it get pretty close to dry. It's not perfectly dry. I think it'd be better if I leave it just a teeny bit wet, maybe. Put this in there all the way and work it up, and there it is. Work it up and down right there a bunch of times. That is perfect, I think. Well, I can sort of tell where it is. Back to the milling machine. Let's mill a little recess there. We're getting close. Well, with as crude a measurements as I can do, I believe I'm centered on the hole that I want to be centered on. And I don't know, I'm just guessing, honestly. That's the truth of it. And I don't have a good way to know how deep I'm going. So let me see if I can figure that out. Well, that milling of the hole worked fine. Now I've got to drill a hole all the way through it for the screw. Let's see how well that works. I think I'm through, but I'm not sure. But yeah, it looks like it is. Okay, so we've got the hole all the way through there, and then the two holes there in the back. Now I'm going to have to do some more work to, make it fit the screw and also the sight slot. Okay, now I've got to make a little cut down. It just knocks out some of this big thing here to make it match the other one. I don't even know that I need to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. I think I got it right where I wanted, I think. That's close enough anyway. Now I got to put a smaller one in to make it match the screw head. Okay, I think I'm ready to cut the hole for the screw head. Set the screw in there upside down and see if that's deep enough. Not really, not yet, but it's getting close. I think that's good enough. I think that's all I need to do with that. Now I need to mill this slot through there, and I don't know if I have a tiny enough mill for that, but I'm going to look. Okay, all I've got to do now is cut the slot through there, and I think it's finished. So I've got a 1/8 inch bit, and that looks like that's going to be the right size, so I'm going to go with that. Just going to mill it very slow so I don't break it. Not 100% sure, but I think we're finished. Yeah, I think we're completely done. All right, let me clean it up and we'll see if it fits. Okay, well, down to the final little bit of cleanup. I want to deburr it a little bit. Deburring just means like knocking off the corners and any roughness that you see. That's pretty nice. It actually turned out pretty darn good. You know, I don't know if I got it perfectly centered. May not have, you know. But I did as good as I could do. It's got to be very close to centered. All right, so this goes in here, locks under that lip. That spring goes down in there. And it seems to be going. Then this screw should go down in here and line up with that hole down there. I hope it does. I hope my screw hole is big enough. I might have to enlarge it. I don't think it's lining up perfectly, unfortunately. I think it's slightly off. Yeah, I think I'm just slightly off. I think I just need to elongate this hole just a teeny tiny bit. I don't think it'll matter at all in the scheme of things. All right, I think that might do it. It's still probably a little not lined up, just a teeny tiny bit, but I think it's working. There you go. There's the rear sight. And does it look like it's centered? Well, I don't know. I'll tell you what it actually looks like. It looks like it's cocked up on the left. Why would it be crooked like that, twisted? I'm exaggerating, but it looks like this left side is cocked, like it's cocked that way. In other words, this side's higher than this side. That's just my eyes looking at it. And I'm pretty sure that's the way it is. Let me see if I can unscrew this and investigate that. Oh, my hands are so sore I can't hold on to nothing. That's why I don't want to work on instruments. I know I'll drop it on somebody's instrument and mess it up. The other problem I have, and I'm going to have to maybe just take the Dremel to this and fix it, is the relief I made for the spring isn't quite big enough. It needs to be a little bigger. It was the only mill I had. I mean, it works, but it just needs to be a hair bigger. I think what I'm going to do is take my Dremel and just route that out just a tiny bit by hand here. And I think I can do that. In fact, I can do it probably with this bit that's in there. Yep, I think I can. Maybe it'd be better if I had it in the vise. We'll give it a shot. I think that's probably good on that. I don't think that hole's still routed quite big enough, so I'm going to work on the hole a little bit more. I centered everything the best I could, but it just ain't perfect, that's all. Deburr this bottom edge. I see there is a burr there. Oh, I see. That might have been what's holding it up. I see a little burr there. That might have been holding it up. Now that I see that, there was a little burr right there. And it was, yeah, it was probably just about the same amount I was crooked there. So that's probably it. I think we got it now. That feels much better. Everything feels better. So maybe this screw will go in there. That's good. It's not crooked anymore either. It's perfectly straight. Yeah, that is good. Let me see. Does the front sight fit in there perfectly? Just about right. Yeah, I can get the front sight down in there and it looks like it's just right. I don't think you could do any better than that. That's just as good as it gets. Sure beats this hunk of junk plastic. That was just plain junk. See how broke out there? That just plastic. That ain't gonna break. You know, this thing that's there for the ride. Now, obviously I don't like the silver color. It could blind you out in the sun even. We'll have to work on that. Let me do what I can on that. Well, my friends, we have it finished. See that? Now that gloss black wasn't my choice. I wanted it to be flat black, but I didn't have any of that. And I didn't like the silver, so the shiny silver, so I just painted it gloss black. I'll dull it down later. It ain't no big deal. Do that with maybe some steel wool once the paint dries good. The paint's not real dry. But that's a pretty darn good job in my opinion, if you ask only me. All I can say is it beats this plastic piece of junk all to heck, and especially for the price they want for this piece of plastic junk. Ridiculous. Well, my friends, if you like this video, give me one of them, please. I would appreciate it very much. If you haven't subscribed, please do that as well, because I'll be putting out all kinds of content over the next several years, and you never know what you're going to see on this channel. It could be anything from pew-pews to Native American stuff to instruments to cave exploring. You just don't know until you tune in. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video.